next to Johnny.
Hey. Yeah, I don't know. I did a blog yesterday or last night because I've had 2 or 3 playing lessons in the last couple of weeks. And as far from an instruction standpoint, it's interesting to see the learning process happen. Like today, you guys are feeling some different changes. That it's uncomfortable. It's just you get some different sensations. You start to groove it, but really we don't play golf the way we practice. We don't get to hit shot after shot after shot and feel it that quickly and rehearse and be able to do it. So you have to be able to take your changes to the golf course and start to organize what you're thinking about and switch gears a little bit into going, all right, I'm not thinking as much about mechanics, I'm thinking a little bit more about ball flight, target, things that are going to help me to play better. So I always say there's a progression. You learn, you train, and then you play. And most people skip that middle part. So they go and they take a lesson, they're hitting it great, they go to the club that afternoon, they go into the rank or go into the golf course, and then either it doesn't feel the same or they're not getting the same swing thoughts or something happens and it breaks down and they wonder what happened. Well, you didn't put enough repetitions into the new change to create a different habit. I'm reading this excellent book called The Talent Code. Anybody heard of it? It's a really interesting book. You guys should get it. And it's a scientist that traveled all around the world and he's trying to figure out why certain parts of the world and certain communities are producing these elite athletes, in whatever sport. He doesn't even mention golf that much, but it applies to golf. And he talks about how the repetition of 10,000 reps is sort of the number that they always go back to where you really start to create a pattern change. Right? So it takes a few, doing it correctly, obviously having an idea of what you're doing, but it also stresses the value of doing it wrong. Right? So you have to do it wrong to get to feel what that feels like in order for you to know when you're doing it right. If that makes any sense. We wouldn't have success if we didn't have failure. So
that's what I tell my wife.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, just getting to the trash, right? I'm just getting to my chores or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting read, and it talks about what he calls deep practice, which is breaking down swings into chunks, or breaking down skills into chunks and doing them slowly and then building them up. This is how the elite tennis players are training. This is how musicians are training, and so forth. So he has a lot of examples. So how do we get it to the golf course this afternoon when you guys go play? Well, you have to develop a sound pre-shot routine. Okay, and everybody's heard that term, right? But until you know what that encompasses, I think it has a lot more to do than just walking into the golf ball. Right? So what are you thinking about? What area of your routine are you thinking certain things, and then not allowing you to carry too many swing thoughts into the ball. So let's talk about a little bit of both. We'll talk about physical and mental part of the pre-shot routine. This is what I was talking about in my blog post. Was if you listen to some of the interviews that the tour players do, you can get some insight into really how comfortable they are when they're going through swing changes. Tiger's a perfect example. Major swing change going on here. When he finished the match play, he got beat by Robert Carlson or whatever it was. The reporter asked him, how much are you having to think about your golf swing when you're out there? He goes, every time. Every single time. You guys remember that? So that's somebody that's really not in, he's still in training mode. See, he's in training mode trying to play golf. See, that's not when champion golfers are at their elite, at their peak, right? But listen to his interview after last week, right? He shot 66 the last round, hit some good shots, much different answer. I said, well, how much are you thinking about the swing? He said, well, it's a process, one, but I understand where I'm going, and I know how to fix it now when it's broken. See, that's a much different player where he can make adjustments on the golf course than it's, I'm thinking about everything I'm trying to do. All right? You guys are going to fall into that a little bit today. There's no way, we're human, we're thinking, and I always say no-thought golf swing's not a big fan of that either, because you're going to get the old swing. Right? You got to think to change, right? But I want to help you to organize that, so we're only thinking about a couple of things, all right? So the first thing we got to do is we got to start from behind the ball. And this is where a lot of people right off the bat make mistakes. They're out of the cart, they're into the side of the golf ball, and they know we're going somewhere down there. Make a couple practice swings. You know, we're all down here at the golf ball again, thinking about what we're trying to do with our swing. And we set up there, don't even look at the target. We make a swing, not really understanding where we align properly, but also our mind was not in the right place. Okay, so we've got to get a little more outward focus as opposed to inward focus, which would be more internal swing problems or swing mechanics. So we're going to stand behind the golf ball. All right, so when I'm back here, this is the time where the thought process can happen. All right, this is the time where I am visualizing my ball flight, picking my target. All right, so I try to get my students just ask good questions. Right, if you're standing behind the golf ball or over the golf ball going, just don't hit it in the water, all right, or just don't hit it in the woods, that's not a good frame of mind to play golf. So I want you to ask better questions. Where's my target? What's my ball going to look like getting there? Okay, if you've never visualized a shot, you need to try to practice that. Okay, it's like a video game. Just see some ball flight, whatever it is. I don't care what it is, but just have a plan. Okay, it's sure better than not having anything. And the hit and hope method doesn't work too good either, right? Stand over it, I hope this one goes straight. So at least have a plan. So I'm standing back here, I'm visualizing and I'm rehearsing, which is going to help me to connect my feeling of whatever the swing is, right? So if I'm Evan, then he's going to rehearse probably this little move here, right? That's the main thing we've worked on, is just getting our hands set properly at the top. That's all you got to think about, okay? So that's where this happens back here, okay? This is the thinking part of the routine. So you might take a little here, you might take a little move there, then we're going to walk into it, and we're going to hit it, all right? So we're visualizing, we're rehearsing, then we walk into the golf ball. Once we walk into the ball, I'll square my club face first. Sometimes it helps to pick a secondary target in front of the ball to aim your club face. A lot easier to aim it 2 feet away than 200 yards. So we're going to aim our club face, and we're going to set our feet. Okay. Very important once we get set up into the golf ball is to stay in motion. This is where a lot of people get static and they get real rigid and tight. Stay in motion, a couple of waggles. You see good players are always moving their feet. Okay. Always moving their feet. And then they're connecting to the target. So all I'm thinking about while I'm over the ball is, where do I want the ball to go? How do I want it to get there? Not is my right arm going to feel at the top of my backswing to make it happen. That happens back here. All right, so here, it only takes like 18 seconds. Here's my routine. Okay. See, I'm going blue flag. Blue flag, I'll make a couple little practice swings here. There, walk in. Square the club. Couple waggle. Look at my target. Pull a trigger. I think I hit the flag. I always say I always play my best when I'm playing with a student and talking about it, because I don't have any room to think negative thoughts if you're verbalizing. And that's always, it's a good. You think you're crazy, but they're like, okay, there's my target. You're walking around. But sometimes it's a good thing to do on the range, and that way you can take it to the course. So the second part of it is you have to practice the way you play. So what you guys have experienced today is mechanical practice, right? We're working on swing changes. We're rehearsing, we're feeling it, we're doing a little slow motion stuff. Then once you start to get more ingrained, starts to get more into your subconscious, then you go into playing practice, switching your targets, right? Learning to walk into the golf ball, working on your routine, playing golf. You hit a driver, okay? You evaluate, you go and hit a 7-iron. Hit a wedge, so you switch clubs, switch back and forth. I don't think we do enough of that, okay? And then we get to the course, we hit a shot, get in the cart, or you're walking or whatever, it takes a little while. By the time you get to there, it's a whole different shot. So we've had time to, think about whatever. So turn it off in between shots. You only want to be focusing about 30 seconds at a time, intently. But when it's your time, to play, that's when, it's like a laser. Okay, then you hit it, you evaluate, you learn from it, maybe a practice swing, let it go. Okay? The more we carry the bad shots over and over, the worse we get. Because a lot of times, I say it's probably more difficult when you're playing above your level than you're playing below. Because how many times have you got off to a bad start, and then you sort of, in your mind, you're almost quitting, and you start playing better? So you have to be sort of in the middle, right, when you're under pressure. It's a lot harder when you get off to that 7th hole, you're like 200 par, best score, and you're going, oh man, if I can just, you're off to, I just par the last 3 holes, I'm going to have my best 9 or whatever. Then you start thinking ahead. Now we're out of the process.
Never done that.
Into the result. Easy to do, right? So it's important that, this pre-shot routine has got to be such a part of you that nothing else matters. You could have a line of gallery down the side and you wouldn't even know they're there. That's how these people on the tour block out distractions. And you've heard it, many stories, Ben Hogan, Tiger, and some of these guys say, I don't even remember playing 3 holes. They were so in the moment that they don't even remember, they lose swings. That's how intently they are for their focus. So this takes practice. And you do this on the range. Like when you go out today and play, you can't go and totally change your routine because it's uncomfortable. If you've never walked into a golf ball, man, the guy yesterday, a perfect example, I wrote this in my blog, is, once I got him back here walking in, he was, it's kind of, I've never done this before, right? But it only took him about 3 holes. Next thing you know, he's commanding respect. He's like, boom, just start ripping it. And so what are you thinking about? And he's like, not a whole lot, so he left it back here. He didn't bring it into the zone where he shouldn't be, where he got all tense. Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
Did you say take a practice swing when you're next to the ball or
behind the ball?
Behind the ball?
Yeah, that's just, that's personal preference, but I just think once you walk into here, okay, if I'm taking practice swings, I'm more likely to start thinking about swing thoughts, and I'm going to lose my target. See, so I want to take care of all that stuff back here. And I call them 50-50 rehearsals, which means I'm not taking full out cuts at it, I'm back here, I'm just making little practice. If I'm trying to work on my swing plane, I'm going to swing a little bit more this way. So I'm trying to exaggerate, there's my draw swing. So you can always tell the pros what they're trying to do. If they're trying to play a cut, you'll see them swing this way. Watch Graham McDowell, he's always swinging this way because he's trying to get, less underneath. So it's just, a little bit exaggeration never hurts.